Okay, we're looking in the bell housing end of the transmission now. And the next step is to install this snap ring. Now, I've been shut down for a couple of days because I did not purchase a new one of these. Mainly because the green Bible, Ford Bible, doesn't actually have this piece in the drawing anywhere. So that was my reference for what I was going to order. And it didn't have that, so I had to go searching for this. And I was able to find it. It's actually in the book, in the caliber. It's not in the picture. So this is, for this transmission, this is piece 81A7059. So if you're redoing this, make sure you order a new one of these, because when you take the old one out, it ends up looking like this, stretched out and cockeyed and all of that. So, all right, now, from what I understand, this is also a big pain in the butt to get on. So we will goop it because it's gonna rotate on something. So we'll get some lubrication on it to begin with. Not a whole lot. And now, let's see how much we struggle. But what this snap ring does is it keeps the hub of the synchronizer from sliding back and forth with the synchronizer. See how this whole hub is moving back and forth? Well, you don't want that. You just want the synchronizer ring to move back and forth. So there's a groove in here that you're going to fit the snap ring into. And it will prevent that hub from sliding. We could try our pliers, but I doubt they're gonna work. There's not a whole lot of room in there to work. So. Nope. It's just gonna pop off. Oh, I think we may have gotten just a little bit more. Hey, bigger screwdriver. Ah! Poop. Okay, let's try it again. It seemed to be fairly successful. Well, successful when you actually get it on, right? Snap rings, the bane of everyone's existence. Here we go. It's in. Yay. Woo-hoo. Okay. All right. So now with that, as you can see, I can move the synchronizer ring. I should be able to move the synchronizer ring forward and backwards without the hub. Well, the hub's not moving, so let's get those back inside there. There we go. Now you can see that the synchronizer ring moves without the hub moving. All right. Next step. All right, next we're going to mate the input shaft with the output shaft. All of this would be considered like the output shaft stuff because it's mounted on the output shaft. First thing that goes in is this little ring here. And this came off. This is original. This doesn't get worn out or anything like that, so you can reuse this one. Just make sure it isn't too, like, you know, burred up or anything like that. Simple little ring, but it is a bearing that sits on the end of the shaft here between this and a needle bearing that's inside of the input shaft that you'll see in just a minute. So we are going to a little goopy goop. Goopy, 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 goopy on here. And then we'll shove it on. All the way till it goes up against the end of the output shaft splines. Now, next, the input shaft. In here is a cavity. This cavity is going to sit up here pretty tightly on here, okay? And there's not a lot of opportunity for oil to get in there. So we are going to grease up the entire inside in here, as well as the new needle bearing. And it's going to take a lot because it's a pretty good cavity inside of there. Okay. Then also, we are going to, again, put just a little on our synchronizer splines here. On this surface. Basically, you can just reuse anything that's left on your fingers on these parts, because that's about as much as you need. Sorry if I'm zoomed in so you guys can see up close on some of this stuff. This one, you really don't have to worry about too much greasing, because you're gonna have, you're gonna be pouring oil in there and it's gonna get a fair amount of oil and easily oiled. But, since we're here, why not? Just put it across the teeth a little bit and it'll push down into there. All right, so that takes care of the input shaft. And now we will not, like we tried to do before, we will not forget our other synchronizer ring. Okay, same thing. A little bit of good. I'm hoping that maybe, the greasing of these things is satisfying to people. I can tell you, having a young baby who might be able to hear in the background, this is a lot like putting diaper rash cream on Aquifer or something like that. So, I'm kind of used to having this feeling on my fingers right now. Pretty opportune time to be doing this work. All right. So just like with the synchronizer ring back here, we're going to put the synchronizer ring on and match up the slots to the slots. Okay. There should be no gap between the two sets of teeth. Okay. Now, last thing, we need to duplicate our needle bearing. Pack our needle bearing. All right, now this goes down inside here, all the way down to the seats, and then on it goes to the output shaft. Okay, let this be a lesson to you. Learn from my mistake. I have now taken the synchronizer back out. Why? Because I did not pay attention to details. Notice that this is not symmetric. There is a ledge here. There's a surface here. This has to go towards the front, or things won't fit. So now I'm going to reassemble all of this and we'll call the inside. Well, then we'll get to the counter shaft underneath. But hey, you know what? Something didn't fit right. That's the way you always know. If you have the snap ring here at the back roller, it should be flush right there with the back of the housing. Up here, same thing, the roller bearing that's up here, the snap ring on the outside here should match up flush with the outside of this housing. And if it doesn't, something's not right. Something is not mating up inside of your transmission. So there we go. Details right there. This surface forward. All right, next lesson. You see right in between this synchro ring and the synchro teeth on the second gear? See how there's a gap there? It's because there's a spacer in between. Okay? Now, if you look over here, now, here, can you see this is pushed in as far as it will go? Can you see that there is a gap between this snap ring and the housing? Well, trust me, there is. And it's about that thickness. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take the synchronizer off again, and we're going to remove that spacer because we don't need it. And that's how you know whether you need that spacer or not. This spacer here, which actually was going up against the edge of the synchronizer hub. This spacer I don't need. All right, synchronizer back on. All right, back together. Confirm that there's no gap up here between the snap ring and the housing. So we're gonna pop this off. And now we're gonna put the snap ring on because that's the pain in the butt. Pain in the butt to get that back off without bending it and marring it, because you know, that's why I had to replace it before. So let's, now that we've kind of found a method that somewhat works, let's do this again. Oh, that worked really well. Okay, snap ring on. Good. Now, there we go. Synchronizer in. Rotating. Yes. All right. That's on. Let's get this synchronizer ring in the right place. Right there. Locked in. No gap. And input shaft. Input shaft in. Yay. Now we're going to put this snap ring up here at the front of that roller bearing. And it's, you know, just another snap ring, so you probably don't want to watch that. Oh, wait, no, there's a trick. There's a trick to doing this. All right, so this snap ring right here goes in this groove right between, so this ledge here and the roller bearing, it fits right in between. Now, the trick is, excuse me, you just get it started onto that ledge. So you gotta expand it out. Get it started onto that surface. And then you can take the bearing retainer reversed, shove it on here. But they talk about, you know, get Now comes the fun part. Now we're going to take this shaft, counter shaft, and get it to go through the cluster gear down below that we put in and left sitting on the bottom of the housing right at the beginning. So what you need to do, you can kind of get your fingers in both ways. And you've got to kind of rotate to mesh up the gears. So it goes up, oh, there we go. Just see how it moved and engaged? Okay, now I'm holding it with my left hand. I'm going to start it over here with my right. A little bit of hammer action. Okay, so it's got it started and it's kind of aligned over here still. So now we'll take our pin, just like we did before, put it in the hole, use it as a kind of a T handle to get it to go in. You know what? I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to use the brass drift and hit it in, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so we've got it pretty far in. Remember, this pin goes through the housing and then through the hole in the reverse idler shaft and this one. So both of these need to be aligned to this hole. So I'll go ahead and take this, turn it, get somewhat aligned with it, except the outlet shaft is there. All right. Okay. Now, what we'll do is put that in. Now it's starting, yep, excuse me, to come through. At this point, you heard that change in sound. That's because it's meeting the housing up at the front. So what I'm gonna do is get down in there with a tool, because even though I have small hands, it's not small enough. I wonder if we wiggle it right. Oh, I remember what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put it up on its nose. And then that brings the gears down using gravity to somewhat engage. Okay, so now we've got it pushed in far enough. You can see that we're gonna line up the pin. Just tap it in, it's gonna rotate. And so when you've got those through, that pin through both of them, you know it's aligned. So now what we can do is gently, without losing our position, tap this in. Check to make sure it goes through, which it doesn't. How annoying. Okay, so that's going to rotate it ever so, and now it's going through. Okay. Tap this one, and hopefully it stays in alignment. There it goes. All right, brass drift, finish it going through. Okay, and then the hole for a cotter pin. Cotter pin it. All right, now we've got our gears installed. And everything should rotate. Huh. Yeah, well, we'll get that working. Maybe I'm just not strong enough. See? It all turns. I'm just not strong enough to do it with my hand. Et voila. It's working!
What's working?